Hi, thank you so much for joining me once again. This is Chelsea Moore with Divine Speech. I want to talk to you today about 6 things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that you will actually encounter at your first speech evaluation. And actually, parents, congratulations to you for even making it to the first speech evaluation because that is a big deal. We know that it is a very difficult decision for you to even go and inquire if your child has same-aged abilities or if they have abilities that appear to be problematic. So I just want to talk to you briefly about 6 things that will occur. The first thing is that when you walk into the speech evaluation, the speech pathologist will gather some information from you on paper just about your normal information regarding name, birthday, and all that background stuff. And then the first thing that she'll actually do after that is take you through what's called a parental interview. The parental interview does not exclude other family members other than parents. It could be siblings, it could be cousins, sometimes maternal aunts and uncles, and grandmothers and grandfathers, and paternal grandmothers and grandfathers, and so on and so forth, participate in that interview. So long as it is conductive and conducive to helping the child, the speech therapist will entertain that. The second thing that the speech therapist will ask about in that whole parameter is she'll gather information about the history of the birth of your child. She'll look at if there are any congruent difficulties on either side of the family. So if there's a child that exhibits characteristics of autism spectrum disorder, she'll say, hey, are there other children in your family that actually exhibit those things? She'll also gather information about the actual birth, like what took place during the birth. Was the child deprived of oxygen? Did he have to, or she have to have care from the NICU? She'll gather all that information and also make sure that that is reported in the evaluation because those factors are also very, very important. The third thing that she'll look at is the social aspect of language skills involving whether or not your child engages appropriately with same-aged peers or with same-age adults, even responding to their name when they're called, verbally or non-verbally. Actually, how is it that they engage or interact with others? The fourth thing that, and I like to kind of combine these things, but the fourth thing that a speech pathologist will look at is language skills. And it has to do, and it's got 2 parts, expressive language skills and receptive language skills. Now, expressive language skills are what I'm doing right now. I'm talking, I'm conversing, I'm talking to you. And the flip side of that is that you are listening, you're hearing my information, hopefully you're comprehending it and processing it. So when you process that information, you know what to do next with it. You'll either follow directions or you'll take that information and make it connect with a previous piece of information. Isn't that fascinating how the brain works? So the speech pathologist will get information regarding comprehension and expressive communication skills. And that typically happens with the use of a formal testing measure. Formal means an actual test or evaluation that is typically a norm reference test, meaning that it is based off of what's considered normal. Okay. The fourth thing that she'll look at is the articulation abilities. She'll look at how well that child is able to communicate with the sounds that they say. So in other words, is their speech intelligible? And intelligible sounds very close to intelligent, but that's not what it means. It just means how easily is your child's speech understood by others? Are they able to communicate in a way that allows other people to understand what they mean? The fifth thing that she'll actually do is basically do the speech evaluation. Now, with the speech evaluation in the world of speech, typically we see scores 85 to 100 because a lot of the times the children that come to us have other difficulties going on. So our normalcy sometimes will be 85 to 100. But what is considered average in the speech world is 85 to 115. 85 to 115. So think about in a classroom, a score of 100 is perfection, where in our world, a score of 115 is pretty doggone good. It's high average. And then anything that's considered 80 to about, I say about 84 to 80 is kind of a gray area. Just like if a child were to cram for a test the night before and they were able to get a cool 80, yay, we got an 80, we finally got that B. Even though that's not the highest score, it's pretty good for them to have crammed, right? But in the speech world, that 80 is kind of a gray area where a speech pathologist can actually say, I'll go ahead and let them participate in the speech program because they do have some mild difficulties. Or a speech therapist might say, no, they don't really need speech therapy. They just need to hone in on A, B, and C skills, okay? So again, 85 to 100 is what we typically see. It just depends on the setting, but 85 to 115 is what is considered average. And then 80 is that grade level, and then 79 on down is problematic, and it could be mildly problematic, moderately problematic, or severely problematic. I hope that helps. And the last thing that a speech therapist will do is basically give you an overview of everything that she saw. Sometimes she will share those scores with you at the end of the evaluation, sometimes not. Everybody is different. Doesn't mean that she's a bad speech pathologist if she doesn't, but sometimes people like to take a minute and go over all of the scores. And again, she may give you more than one speech evaluation that will encompass receptive language skills, expressive language skills, articulation skills. She'll look at even elements of apraxia, which have to do with the motor planning disorder. She'll look at fluency abilities. She'll even ask you sometimes about what your child's feeding issues are, if that is an issue, okay? And then at the end, you'll get all of that information explained to you in the form of an evaluation. And she may tell you, hey, I think you did great, or oh, I have to look at the results and see, because sometimes children may test kind of all over the place, just depending on what their strengths are. I hope this video gave you some insight about what to expect at your first speech evaluation assessment, and actually talking to the speech pathologist. Just keep an open mind. Hey, it's an awesome fact that you as a parent have even decided to go to a speech therapist, because it means that you want further information, that you really care about the language well-being of your child. Another thing, don't beat yourself up if your child has a score that's lower than what you thought. And don't feel like there was something that you didn't do that caused that. Sometimes there are so many hereditary factors that contribute to speech and language difficulties. And then sometimes there are other factors, even like with ear aches or recurrent ear infections. When a child has an ear infection, if you can, take your ears and your hands and put them like this. This is how they hear the world. So when they hear the world like this, they can't hear information, comprehend it, and process it appropriately. So lots of things that go on. So I hope this video gave you some insight about it. Let me know what you think. For more information regarding our services, you can visit us online at divinespeech.com. Thank you so much for joining me.